Profound teachings of the Buddha. With an open heart, the sky naturally becomes brighter. As human beings, who among us does not harbor some degree of self-interest? Who has never made mistakes because of thinking only of oneself? With just a little empathy and forgiveness, you will find that these faults are nothing at all. If you are willing to sacrifice a bit more, your future will naturally be more expansive. If you live with a self-centered heart, good deeds will increase and sorrows will naturally diminish. Words are regarded as the key that unlocks another's heart, yet they can also be the fastest weapon to wound another. If you have never seen the deep hurt of someone who has been struck by your words, you cannot know just how painful they can be. Many times, words can be like an invisible dagger that kills. You may not see blood, but their sharpness and cruelty are undeniable. A careless remark, a cold glance, or an unguarded gesture during a debate, when things go too far, or when words are carelessly let loose, can become a knife that pierces another's heart. The closer the relationship, the deeper the wound becomes. Often, a speaker might unintentionally shatter the listener's heart. Sometimes it is due to a habit of loud and domineering talk. Even a Buddhist might, because of an unsettled mind, speak rashly. Yet, one should consider that the other person has loved you enough to endure and forgive for so long. Time may heal wounds, but scars remain forever. They might ache or itch from time to time. At any moment, if touched, even though your words may not immediately win someone's favor, they can easily erode feelings, push people away, and cause one to lose the bonds of grace. Sometimes, by simply broadening one's heart a little, managing one's emotions better, being mindful of one's speech, cherishing those around you, and giving your all to the present moment, you will be able to preserve beautiful affections. With an open heart, the sky naturally clears. Realize that everything has its brightness and its length. Do not measure others by your own standards, nor judge anyone solely by your personal understanding, for no one is flawless or perfect. Before you blame or ridicule others' clumsiness, examine yourself first. The eyes are meant to see the beauty around. Do not merely gossip or indulge in slander. The mouth is meant for eating and conversing, not for launching attacks. Appearances and worldly concerns should be approached with sincerity, wholeheartedness, and genuine intent. Do not overcalculate, for such calculation only harms yourself. In work, always leave a way out. In conversation, temper your words so that you do not drive things to the extreme, thus allowing for reconciliation. Mind your words and maintain proper standards even in jest. Moderation is needed. Human life is as ephemeral as mist, gone by morning. Live like water, clear, calm, and profound. And what need is there for worry when inner peace and lightness prevail? When interacting with others, exercise caution. If a careless word gives rise to misunderstanding, remain calm to resolve it. Even when you see through a deceitful person, there is no need to speak of it. If you frequently encounter the cunning or the scheming, even if you know their nature well, it is unnecessary to broadcast it. Eventually, time will bring everything to light. Every bond that is formed will naturally yield a corresponding result. Do not allow unworthy people or matters to consume your mind, wasting your time and energy. What belongs to you will never escape you. What is not meant for you will not come even if you spend your entire life pursuing it. When we come into this world, we bring nothing with us. When we leave, we are like drifting smoke. Upon reflection, human life is truly simple. Wealth and honor fade away with time. Affections and grudges ultimately turn to dust. Today, we live in a world full of materialism and desires, seduced by the allure of power, status, money, beauty, fine food, and elegant dress, which easily lead people to become shallow, arrogant, self-indulgent, and self-serving. When you feel that reality and your dreams are imbalanced, when you feel unable to control your mind, envy, grudges, competitiveness, losses, or schemes, the moment you realize the impermanence of life, you will feel that the heavy burdens upon your soul are much lighter. No one lives forever. Sadly, many cling to sorrow and pain, drowning in impermanence. Humans are both simple and formidable. A kind heart can embrace everything. A cruel heart can harm countless people. If one behaves too cunningly, others will shy away. If one is excessively harsh, people will resent, and in every situation one tends to fight to the end. Even when one has some advantages, it is best to strive with all one's might. Otherwise, what is truly lost is the human heart, and one becomes weak. Therefore, when faced with money and benefits, it is wise to be a little naive so as not to lose harmony, friendship, or righteousness. Being a little naive when competing for fame and words can keep you from mental fatigue. When hearing rumors or facing setbacks, a touch of naivety can prevent you from falling into loss. No one is perfect. Every individual has his or her own style, even if there are admirers, jealous ones, or those who simply refuse to be satisfied. Deep down, everyone hopes not to be caught up in petty disputes. Truly wise people do not live too shrewdly or cunningly. They avoid constant scheming, choosing instead to remain a bit naive so as to keep their integrity and avoid endless conflicts. Life is short, know how to be content and live freely, and your existence will be full of inner peace. When you learn to be a little naive, your destiny will grow from within. When you choose a path, you are deciding your fate. Do not worry too much about the past. Live fully in the present and set your sights on the future. In doing so, tomorrow's life will surely be brighter. When someone criticizes you and you feel a tinge of sadness, it is acceptable, but do not rush into anger or reaction. View others' criticisms as an opportunity to reflect on yourself and adjust what is necessary. When praised, it is enough to feel a little joy, but do not let it breed arrogance. Many compliments are meant only to please others, so do not let sweet words inflate your pride. If life is truly painful, there is no time for lament. If life is too dull, there is no energy for sulking. If you are truly at the end of your rope, why maintain a mood of constant grievance wherever you go? At all times, remember, you live for yourself. Therefore, whatever you do is acceptable as long as you are true to your heart and do your best. No matter how talented you are or how well prepared you may be, things will still not go as planned. There will be gains and losses, ups and downs, and most people do not wish for that. Human suffering arises from the desire for constancy in everything, while the nature of life is impermanence. There are times when, faced with the devastation of impermanence, a person seems about to collapse. But if one deeply grasps the philosophy of survival, one will understand that when you have excessively indulged in the gifts of the universe, when the universe reclaims a share for others, it is merely the natural order, not a bitter fate. Conversely, there are those who, ignoring the suffering of others, pursue personal gain and fleeting pleasures. Thus, while one person perpetually revels in another's misfortune or sorrow, why should we be preoccupied with the darker side of society when the very nature of existence is such? Letting go and truly being able to let go is what brings peace to the heart. All sorrow and joy arise from the mind and similarly vanish by the mind. Thus, the state of your heart determines how you perceive life. Every day, we face countless disappointments, betrayals, and situations beyond our control. We cannot always prevent undesirable outcomes, so it is better to learn to become accustomed to them and gradually accept them with joy. Learn to cultivate more patience, tolerance, and generosity. Strive to view yourself and others with kinder, gentler eyes, and do not be overly anxious about failure. Leave the past behind so that you can fully focus on the present, without reviving unpleasant memories that only weigh you down. A person with a magnanimous, compassionate heart will not feel oppressed or treated unfairly. Such a person will not complain about fate or curse the heavens, but will always maintain a serene demeanor and continuously study, work, and strive to transform circumstances in the face of difficulties and suffering. Some may droop or fall, but others will have the courage to keep moving. Every hardship and obstacle on our journey is a precious opportunity to cultivate determination, inner strength, and equanimity, preparing us to achieve even greater successes in the future. The path of life and the path of practice share one essential quality. They both demand perseverance, endurance, and continuous effort. If someone practices with an attitude of laziness and carefree indulgence, lost in the allure of fame and transient pleasures, and does not strive diligently to overcome his own negative habits, then his spiritual practice is as futile as trying to cook rice with sand. There is a saying, everything is created by the mind. As each year passes, do not belittle your life or remain stagnant. Instead, observe. If your state of mind has transformed, then those who view life as a battlefield will constantly be embroiled in conflict. Those who see life as a journey will always appreciate the scenery. Those who regard life as ever-changing like drifting clouds will remain calm amid constant change. Life is such that there is hardly any absolute right or wrong. Accepting both the joy of favorable circumstances and the sorrow of misfortune depends entirely on the attitude of your mind when facing life's many uncertainties and storms. Often, only after experiencing many failures do we come to appreciate the value of humility and patience. Only after much success do we understand the worth of courage and faith. Only after meeting many people do we learn the value of sincere friendship. Only after enduring many trials do we recognize the value of understanding and tolerance. It is only when we have experienced much conflict that we learn the value of reconciliation. And only after facing many setbacks do we appreciate the importance of cultivating the mind, nourishing one's inner nature, and letting go of attachments, thus discovering the priceless nature of purity and inner peace. Facing deceit teaches us the value of sincerity. Although we might know how to forget those things that make us unhappy and learn to stay away from places and people who diminish our spirit, that is what it means to truly live. As long as there is a tomorrow, today will always be a new beginning, a goal to aspire to. As the blossom of one's heart grows ever wiser, even the transient sorrows of life, those demands for absolute perfection from others diminish. When you learn to accept the relative nature of others, happiness comes within reach, and you can fully enjoy the present moment. When you accept relativity, your heart grows more generous and trusting of humanity, and life becomes less filled with discontent and disappointment. In truth, the foundation of life is the interdependence among people, between this and that, between one world and another, between this life and the next. No one lives without eventually dying, and nothing dies without being reborn in one form or another, because life is inherently interdependent. Therefore, no one can live in complete isolation, nor is anyone absolutely perfect. If you listen without prejudice and look closely at those you despise the most, you will discover the interesting truth that even in them, there are traces of charm. Perhaps the qualities you adore in those you hold dear are also merely relative. Once you realize that nothing in life is absolutely perfect, you will no longer harbor excessive hatred toward those you find disagreeable. In that realization, you will let go and free yourself from the passionate attachments and impulsive behaviors like, if only you were as dear as that old person. In short, when you learn to view reality objectively, you will find it easier and more pleasant to interact with both those you consider endearing and those you do not. In the past, people would confine themselves in a prison of absolute expectations and rigid standards they themselves had created. We are not absolute, yet we expect everything around us to be absolute, and that is the cause of our suffering. Once you awaken to this, ask yourself, who can help you live more happily, think more positively, and act more impartially? There is only one person, and that person is you. If you constantly remind yourself that nothing in life is absolutely perfect, you will find it easier and more comfortable to handle any worry. Happiness begins only when you learn to shift your focus inward. Happiness arrives when you truly open the door of your heart. Occasionally, reflect on death and the fragility of life as if you had just experienced a near-death ordeal. Such thoughts will strengthen you, urging you to break free from trivialities. If everything were certain, would we still scramble and fret over a transient life? Would we continue to be indifferent, lazy, and restless with ourselves? Would we remain unfeeling, cold, and scheming toward those around us? Or would we simply long for a peaceful tomorrow, sitting under the eaves of our home, sharing a simple meal with family, looking into the sincere eyes of our children, observing the earnest, hard-working expressions of our parents, and hoping to say something that brings joy to those we love? When confronted with death and the imagery of bloodshot eyes and hearts turned to ice, our hearts will warm at the thought of death. Losses and gains, material ambitions, and deep-seated grudges will all seem insignificant and gradually fade away when there is no longer time to choose. People naturally come to cherish what is most valuable. They choose to think lovingly and kindly. They choose to live sincerely and to be forthright with others. They choose to engage in meaningful deeds. They choose kind words. They choose gentle looks at life. They choose warm hands to hold another's. They choose a light step so as not to harm what they have passed by. And they choose a soft, soothing breath to listen more deeply to life. Knowing all this, why do we still fail to master ourselves, continuing to be carried away by unwholesome things, or to be swept along by the lure of fame and personal gain? In such moments, always remember that to love everything in this harsh world, you must understand, everything will eventually pass away. It is true, everything will pass away. Each morning when you wake, live as if today were your last. That thought will inspire you to view life with loving eyes, to live with gratitude, and to strive with all your heart, for you never know how many opportunities you will have to say thank you, to apologize, or to do what you truly desire. If tomorrow you still have the chance to see the sun, remember to be fully grateful for this life with all your heart. There is no denying that everyone sometimes finds themselves overwhelmed by troubles that darken the mood. Some people are crushed by the heavy pressures of life, some by work frustrations, and others by unfulfilled relationships. Everyone has their own way of coping with negative emotions. Some even lose control, shout, or physically lash out in anger to vent their inner turmoil. But why do we get so angry when we hear unfounded rumors, are stabbed in the back, misunderstood, or treated unfairly, deprived of the respect we need? There are times when not everyone can control their emotions. In life, when anger flares up, it is best to pause the conversation until your heart has calmed. Practice forgetting the burdens and painful mistakes. Move past the sorrows, and then your work will expand, and life will gradually become more spacious and light. This world is destined to come to an end, to leave, and nothing can stay forever. But the period in between is determined by our choices. Each person has their own way of living. Some choose to hoard money and possessions for their descendants, clinging to relationships as their source of life. Others rely on gratitude, joy, tolerance, and a little bit of naivete as their guiding principles. Because of these differing choices, no two lives are the same. When young, one might desire many things. When confined to a hospital bed, even caring for those desires becomes impossible. Loved ones worry about you. Your partner fears the repercussions. A leader frets over immediate results. A friend worries that you will not recover. And a doctor frets over whether you have enough money. All of these concerns arise. In that moment, even if you feel frustrated or helpless, nothing can be done. Therefore, when you are healthy, you must take care of yourself and seize the life you truly want, because life is never easy for anyone. The bittersweet, the sour and the sweet, the sadness and the joy, they can all be transformed into romance, turning a harsh world into a tapestry of deep emotions. That is true resilience. In this world, nothing is perfect. Just as the sun sets to the west and the moon, once full, wanes, the most beautiful scenes are often those of an unblossomed flower or an incomplete moon. The sense of lacking something makes it eternal. Imperfection is what defines our humanity. Accept it, and nothing becomes a problem. Like a person who bows without needing to adjust the door frame, yielding naturally without conflict. With a receptive heart, you will always find happiness and contentment. When we must let go of something, we always feel troubled and uneasy. Even if we wish to let go, sometimes we cannot summon the strength. So what can we do? Consider the following story and reflect deeply. There was once a man, his face etched with sorrow, who asked a venerable monk, "Venerable sir, why are there some things and some people that I cannot let go of?" The monk replied, "Nothing is impossible to let go of." The man then asked again, "Venerable sir, why is it that there are certain things and people that I cannot let go of time and again?" The monk answered, "Pick up a cup and pour tea into it until the tea overflows. If your hand grows too hot and you cannot bear it, then put the cup down. See, in life, nothing is impossible to let go of. When you truly feel pain, you will naturally let it go. Indeed, when you have acquired fame, you may find it difficult to relinquish it. When you have wealth, letting it go can be hard. When you are in love, it is hard to let it go. When you have a career, it is hard to let it go. All these attachments make it difficult to release, because within your heart there still remain thoughts and illusions, or you are still tempted, or the behavior of the other has not yet reached the threshold of your endurance. For example, One finds it hard to let go of love because there is still hope, a hope that the future might change, still entangled by desire. Those who lack decisiveness tend to hesitate both in holding on and letting go. Perhaps after experiencing a major upheaval, or when faced with death, they may change. When you regard something or someone with a more relaxed perspective, you will find it easier to let go. We often sink into suffering because our hearts cling to desires, constantly preoccupied with them day after day. Naturally, this becomes exhausting. This is much like furnishing a new home. Initially, to satisfy our needs or preferences, we buy a lot of things. But years later, we realize that the house is cluttered with items, many of which we never use. Then, when we try to discard some of them, we cannot decide which to let go because each holds meaning or memories. Thus, we end up keeping everything, confined in a cramped space. But if one day the house becomes dilapidated from leaks or decay, then it becomes much easier to discard the unnecessary. The lesson is, when the pain becomes too great, you will naturally let go. In life, there are many things that should be released, for clinging to them only becomes a chain that binds you. Have the courage to let go in order to be free, at peace, and eventually attain liberation and joy. Our minds become burdened and suffer when we see fault after fault in others, but we forget that when we think ill of others, our own mind darkens. When we think well of someone, our own mind brightens. Only when you realize that no one around you is entirely bad, and that even if someone appears unkind, it may simply be because they have not yet had the opportunity to express their goodness, can your heart begin to rise. Try practicing for a day, a month, or a year. See if you can reach a state where you perceive no one as bad. Observe whether your heart feels lighter and more liberated. Let your inner light spark like a small flame in winter, or a tiny drop of water in the heat of summer, so that your heart may radiate warmth to everyone. If you cannot see the goodness in others, try to view them with simple, unclouded, innocent eyes. This may sound simple, but achieving such a perspective is quite challenging. In life, there are three kinds of matters. Matters concerning oneself, for example, deciding what to do today, how to eat and live, and whom to help in joy or sorrow. These are under your own control. Matters concerning others, roughly speaking, like someone being lazy at work, an unhappy marriage, deceit, or ungrateful help. These are governed by others. Matters concerning nature, such as rain, wind, thunder, natural disasters, epidemics. These events are beyond human control. To achieve peace, simply take care of your own affairs. Do not meddle in others' matters, and do not interfere with the workings of nature. Therefore, whenever you feel troubled or uneasy, ask yourself, whose business is this, really? You will then know how to resolve it. Just as even a dirty finger need not be cut off, or a too tight hat adjusted, the closed door will eventually open to another view if you can see it. When you feel pain, first break the stubbornness. What matters is whether you are willing to let go. In life, we strive for grandeur, a big house, and a wide door, but in truth, even a simple lean-to is enough to enjoy cautious joy. A person needs three essential keys: to accept, to change, and to let go. If you cannot accept, then change. If change is not possible, then walk away. An optimistic person often fills voids with a smile, while one prone to blame forgets the joy of living. Do not ask others why, but rather question yourself. What is my own worth? People are kind to me because I am kind to them, or because I have some value. Do not expect everyone to understand you, for each person has their own preferences and concerns. Just understand what you are doing and what your goal is. Improve yourself and create value, and the world will naturally cherish you. Each person's life is but one short or long, every day, whether filled with joy or sorrow. Every stage of life, whether it moves backward or forward, no one or nothing is perfect. When dealing with petty people, do not calculate, for calculation only adds trouble. When faced with complex issues, do not overthink, for overthinking only leads to fatigue. The world is vast, and human hearts are complicated. Surely we will encounter trivial, insignificant, and perplexing matters, so think moderately, glance outward, and let your heart be light and smile. Do not let others decide for you. Do not surrender unconditionally. If you do good and yet feel wronged, remind yourself, there are people who cherish gratitude receiving a simple candy. They remember it, but there are also many who take things for granted. Being helped by others is natural, but only if you do not constantly demand more or sulk when expectations are not met. If you encounter such people, view helping them as an opportunity to do good and accumulate merit for yourself. Life passes quickly. If you can transcend the illusions of fame and false glory, you will grasp what is genuine. When you encounter complications, handle them gently and set aside unnecessary entanglements so that your heart may move forward with ease, making room for others. Broaden your vision in the aftermath of rain. You will see rainbows. With light luggage, your journey becomes carefree. On the long road, the most beautiful scenery is not seen by the eyes but felt by the heart. Deep feelings need not be spoken but are expressed through actions. Whenever things do not go your way, remember to keep your heart soft, gentle, and quietly allow yourself to tread and transform all things without engaging in disputes or conflicts. If everyone can cultivate themselves to that state, the world will become more peaceful. The human heart will not waver with endless desires. We often think that once we achieve something, we must be happy. Yet when a dream comes true, the heart often feels empty. Why? Because desires and ambitions, like dreams once fulfilled, lose their resistance, like water flowing past the ear. Thus, nothing in life is permanent. Forget the illusory desires of the world. Forget about clinging to life or fearing death, for these bring no benefit, even if you tremble at the thought of your own passing. First, renounce the very notion of a permanent self hidden within. So many people suffer from material want. Their lives are impoverished, they lack food and face injustice. Many suffer deep spiritual poverty. When you feel like plunging into the abyss, why not notice the beautiful scenery before you? Anything in excess, even the final joy, is the root of sorrow. Therefore, hold fast to the middle way, to see the true nature of things and attain boundless inner peace like a spider slowly spinning its exquisite web. Nature creates all things with infinite beauty, endless and eternal over countless millennia. Today, we often see and criticize the faults of others. We rely on scriptures and scholars to cleanse those faults, much like making offerings. But I assert that the cause of all wrongdoing lies within ourselves, and only we can open the door to liberation. If someone wishes to cross to the other side of a river, what can they do? If the water is shallow, they can wade across. If the water is deep, they must use a boat or swim. But if they refuse to wade, swim, or use a boat, then they are left with only the option of praying to deities. But when you pray, will a shore miraculously appear? Such a person is, in my view, truly foolish. Similarly, if one uses intellect only to serve desires and ignorance, how can one ever find truth and the path to liberation? If you only pray or make offerings, you will remain stuck at the starting line. The earth is our foundation, and the sky provides the expanse for freedom. Both your body and mind dwell within it. So what is the supreme truth? It can only be attained by personally experiencing it, understanding oneself deeply, and realizing your true nature without being ruled by thoughts or desires. Only by sensing and maintaining balance can you perceive that nothing in the universe is truly different. Whether the weather changes, trees shed their leaves, or they wither away. Surely, wisdom is omnipresent, in the sun, the moon, the stars, the Milky Way. Every person can possess the supreme truth and attain enlightenment. Just as today I have endured tremendous trials with desires, anger, illusions, greed, and suffering, yet my heart has remained steadfast, unwavering. I have vowed that even if sacrifice is required, I must realize the supreme truth, and in the end, I have witnessed the truth that saves. Please, teach me the path to realize this noble Dharma. All things in the world are interconnected, like an invisible thread. If you diligently practice virtue like a stream steadily flowing to the shore, over time, good karma will follow you from this life to the next, until enlightenment is reached. On the contrary, if you engage in evil, many lifetimes will be spent reaping the bitter results, and thus all these actions become the seeds of your downfall. If you concentrate fully, being mindful in every moment, and maintain calm and tranquility, you will find the middle way within your own heart, neither sorrowful nor ecstatic, transcending the bonds of karmic fate. Ultimately, you will experience the impermanent nature of all things. Please help me. I long to meet the Buddha. You are my final ray of hope. O Buddha, please give me life. I beg of you, restore my child to me. Free me from this pain. Please return my child to me. Please return my child. Strike, if you must. Please save my child. Could you possibly bring the child back to life? But madam, I have some errands to run. Please go to any house in the city and ask them for a single bean. Yes, I understand. I will go immediately. But remember, the house where you ask for a bean must be one where no one has ever lost a loved one. Very well. Madam, what are you saying? It doesn't matter. The truth is, my parents passed away 6 months ago. I'm sorry, sir. I cannot accept a bean from your house. All things in this world are subject to birth and death. This is the law of nature. Regardless of age, wisdom, or ignorance, everyone must eventually die. Had I told you these truths beforehand, would you have believed me? The moon hovers in the sky like the supreme truth. Each night it rises, grows until full, then wanes until it disappears, only to begin the cycle anew. But it never truly vanishes, it merely retreats from our sight. Your child is not truly dead. It lives on in your heart, indeed. Calm yourself, and in time you will understand these things. The essence of life, like the shadow of suffering that follows us throughout our lives, is rooted in our clinging to external circumstances. Once you understand that nothing can last forever, you will know that liberation is always possible. The key to liberation lies in the transformation of the mind. Whether sorrow or joy overwhelms you, you must maintain equanimity between the extremes. By practicing thus, the chains of suffering will naturally loosen, and you will understand the ultimate truth. With the broadening of wisdom, you will see that life and death, union and separation, are not two separate things but one.